one dry text, and suddenly your mind builds an entire courtroom around the words, "Okay, sure." You reread the conversation. You check the time they replied. You notice they did not use their usual emoji. And even though a part of you knows they could just be busy, another part of you is already asking, are they upset with me? Did I say something wrong? Are they slowly losing interest? By midnight, you are not even talking to them anymore. You are talking to every possible version of them inside your head. And that is what makes overthinking so exhausting. It is not just thinking too much. It is feeling like your mind has to solve every silence before the silence turns into pain. But why does this happen? Why do intelligent people often struggle to leave things alone, even when they desperately want peace? The answer is deeper than, you worry too much. Because a fast mind does not just notice what is happening, it notices what could happen. And sometimes, that becomes a prison. Intelligent people often have strong pattern detection. They notice the tiny shift in someone's voice, the pause before a reply, the friend who suddenly stops asking questions, the person who says, "I'm fine," but feels distant. Other people may let those moments pass, but your mind collects them. It connects them. It starts building a story, not because you want drama, but because your brain is trained to look for meaning. The problem is, people are not always clear. Their moods change. Their messages are short. Their energy is inconsistent. And when there is missing information, your mind tries to fill in the blanks. That is where overthinking begins. A delayed reply becomes rejection. A quiet partner becomes a relationship problem. A small mistake becomes proof that you ruined everything. Your brain is not always trying to hurt you. Sometimes, it is just trying to make uncertainty feel less dangerous. And here is the difficult part. The more intelligent your mind is, the more possible outcomes it can imagine. You do not see one future. You see five. You think about what you should say, what they might say back, what that response could mean, how you should react, and what could go wrong after that. Even simple decisions can start feeling like emotional chess. Should I send the message? Should I wait? Should I explain myself? Should I say nothing? Should I leave before they leave me? You are not just making a choice. You are carrying the responsibility of every possible consequence. And that can make rest feel guilty. Because when you are lying in bed doing nothing, your mind whispers, what if you missed something? What if you should have handled that differently? What if tomorrow gets worse because you did not prepare enough today? This is why some people look calm on the outside, but feel mentally exhausted all the time. Their body is resting, but their mind is still on duty. And not all overthinking starts in the present. For some people, being observant became a survival skill. Maybe you grew up around unpredictable moods. Maybe love felt warm one day and distant the next. Maybe you learned that saying the wrong thing could lead to criticism, silence, anger, or disappointment. So you became good at reading rooms. You watched faces. You noticed tone. You learned what people meant without them saying it. That does not mean every overthinker had a dramatic childhood. But for some people, their intelligence got recruited as protection. Their mind learned, if I can predict people, maybe I can avoid getting hurt. And that is why a simple, "I'm fine" from someone you love can keep you awake for hours. You are not only hearing those two words, you are searching for everything hidden behind them. But there is another reason intelligent people can feel trapped in their own thoughts. They often try to solve emotions like problems. When you feel distant from someone, you analyze why. When you feel anxious, you look for the exact cause. When someone disappoints you, you replay every moment until you find the point where things changed. Analysis can be useful. It can help you understand yourself. But emotions are not always puzzles with one correct answer. Sometimes you feel heavy because you are tired. Sometimes you feel rejected because an old wound got touched. Sometimes you feel unsafe because uncertainty reminds you of a time when you had no control. And sometimes you do not need more information. You need comfort. You need rest. You need to stop treating every feeling like an emergency that must be solved before you are allowed to breathe. Because you cannot think your way out of every emotion. And you cannot analyze your way into feeling safe. Another painful truth is that overthinking often disguises itself as caring. You care about people, so you monitor their mood. You care about the relationship, so you check your phone again. You care about doing the right thing, so you replay every conversation after it ends. But eventually, caring can turn into surveillance. You stop being present in the relationship because you are too busy checking whether the relationship is still safe. A delayed reply no longer feels like a delayed reply. It feels like a verdict. A short message no longer feels like a short message. It feels like a warning. And suddenly, your peace depends on information that may not even be there. That is when overthinking becomes less about reality and more about fear trying to sound intelligent. Because fear can be very convincing when it uses logic. It can give you evidence. It can show you patterns. It can remind you of every time something went wrong. But not every thought deserves your obedience. Not every possibility deserves your energy. And not every silence is a sign that you are about to lose someone. Overthinking does not mean you are broken. It may mean your mind is incredibly skilled at keeping watch. It just may not know when the danger is over. The goal is not to become less intelligent. It is not to stop noticing things. It is not to become cold, careless, or unaware. The goal is to stop turning every possibility into an emergency. When your mind starts spiraling, try asking yourself, what do I actually know? What am I assuming? And what would I do right now if I believed I was safe? That question can change everything. Because healing is not always getting every answer. Sometimes, healing is allowing yourself to live without chasing every answer. You do not need to decode every silence. You do not need to prepare for every ending. You do not need to earn peace by overanalyzing your life. If this felt painfully familiar, comment, "My mind needs rest." Someone reading it may realize they are not the only one awake at night fighting thoughts nobody else can see. And subscribe to Mind Motive Psychology for more videos that help you understand the emotions you were taught to hide. Remember this, your mind was built to see more than most people notice. But you deserve a life where you do not have to analyze every moment before you are allowed to live it. You are allowed to be intelligent without being on guard.